Unit 22, Growth of Communalism up to the Second World War. Let us briefly look at the structure of this unit. Section 22.0, Objectives. Section 22.1, Introduction. Section 22.2, Communalism, Meaning and Components. The subsections cover what is communalism, components, myths regarding communalism. Section 22.3, Emergence and Growth. The subsections cover the topics socio-economic factors, role of British policy, 19th century revivalism, political trends in the late 19th century, role of communal organizations, weaknesses in the national movement. Section 22.4, Communalism in the 20th century. The subsections cover the topics partition of Bengal and the formation of the Muslim League, separate electorates, Lucknow Pact, Khilafat, parting of the ways towards a mass base. Section 22.5, Let us sum up. Section 22.6, Keywords. Now we shall get into the contents of this unit. Section 22.0, Objectives. You all are quite familiar with the term communalism, but have you ever tried to think what communalism actually means and how it has come to become such a strong force in our society? This unit intends to answer some of the questions regarding communalism in India. After reading this unit, you can explain what communalism is and distinguish between various types of communalism. See how communalism emerged in the Indian society and polity. Evaluate the role of the various forces which enabled it to grow and trace its development in the early 20th century. Section 22.1, Introduction. One of the major priorities of any developing country is to maintain a unity of its people. In the history of modern India, such a unity was put to a very severe test by the growing communalization of the Indian people, politics, and society. Whereas the Indian national movement aimed at achieving the unity of all Indian people, communalism sought to divide them along religious lines by creating and spreading false barriers of religious communities, religious interests, and ultimately religious nations also. This unit will try to tell you how communalism in India was born and thrived because of a combination of various forces and their development. For instance, the peculiarity of the socio-economic development of India in the 19th century, the impact of the colonial rule as well as the role of certain colonial policies, the weakness of the anti-communal nationalist forces, and finally the active role played by the communal forces like the All India Muslim League and the All India Hindu Mahasabha will be discussed in this unit. Section 22.2, Communalism, Meaning and Components. Communalism has different meaning to different groups and peoples, institutions and organizations. At the same time, it can be a belief, a way of thinking, an ideology, a value, and an instrument. It can be used in a variety of ways and it can be studied from a number of perspectives. It is therefore very important to know what communalism is. Subsection 22.2.1, What is communalism? Generally speaking, communalism is a belief that all those who have a common religion also have as a result common social, political, cultural and economic interests and identities. In other words, it is the notion that religion forms the base of the society and a basic unit of division in the society. that it is religion that determines all the other interests of man. To understand it better, let us look at it differently. Man is multifaceted. FACETED. Faceted. Man is a multifaceted social being who can at the same time have a number of identities. His identity can be based on his country, region, sex, occupation, position within the family, caste, or religion. A communalist would choose from this wide range only the religious identity and emphasize it out of proportions. As a result, social relationship, political behavior, and economic struggles might be defined on the basis of the religious identity. So, briefly put, it is the superimposition of the religious category over all others which becomes the starting point of communalism. Two more things need to be clarified at this stage. Firstly, in the context of pre independence India, communalism expressed itself mainly in terms of a conflict between certain sections of the Hindus and Muslims. It was partly for this reason that communalism was also referred to as the Hindu Muslim problem or the Hindu Muslim question in contemporary debates and literature. However, from this, we should not assume that the problem was confined only to the Hindus and Muslims or that it was a religious problem at all. Secondly, communal beliefs and propaganda did not always remain at the same pitch. In fact, as the society got more politicized and as the struggle for independence intensified, communalism also correspondingly shifted to higher levels of propaganda. Briefly, the communal propaganda and arguments had three levels. First, that the interests of all the numbers of religious community were the same. For example, it was argued that a Muslim zamindar and a peasant had common interests because both were Muslims or Hindus or Sikhs as the case might be. Second, that the interests of the members of one religious community were different from the members of another religious community. In other words, this meant that all Hindus had different interests from all Muslims and vice versa. Third, that not only were these interests different but also antagonistic and conflicting. Antagonistic. Antagonistic. This, in other words, meant that Hindus and Muslims could not coexist in peace because of conflicting interests. Needless to say, these arguments were false, based on a wrong understanding of interests, and had no roots in reality. Throughout the medieval period, large sections of Hindus and Muslims had coexisted with tolerance and harmony. Although they maintained their religious differences, the common people among both Hindus and Muslims lived in peace throughout and continued to interact on a cross communal network. Subsection 22.2.2 Components. Words like communal ideology, communal tensions, communal violence, communal politics, communal feelings, etc., are often used interchangeably. It is important to distinguish one from the other and see the various components of communalism. A distinction was made for the first time in 1939 by K. B. Krishna, Problem of Minorities, between communal tension and communal politics. Communal tension was a temporary phenomenon occurring in spurts, spurts, occurring in spurts, manifesting in communal violence and mainly involving the lower classes of people. Communal politics, on the other hand, was a persistent and continuous phenomenon and involving in the main the middle classes, landlords, and bureaucratic elements. The only thing that they had in common was that they both derived their sustenance, sustenance. They both derived their sustenance from communal ideology. Communalism can also be seen as a weapon and a value. It was a weapon for those who stood to benefit from it, who had a vested interest in its continuation, and who used communalism to serve their desired political ends. Besides a weapon, communalism was also a value for all those who had accepted communalism, come to believe in it, had internalized communal ideas, and incorporated them into their lifestyle. Such people, deeply religious in their outlook and invariably the victims of communal ideology and propaganda, were not the beneficiaries of communalism but its victims. They were always exploited by the agents of communalism who had a vested interest in it. We have seen thus that there are many component or aspects of communalism. Communalism should best be seen as a structure with all the components communal tension, communal politics, weapon, value, etc. constituting parts of the structure. They are held together by this structure and connected with each other through the thread of communal ideology which sustains the structure. Subsection 22.2.3 Myths regarding communalism. Communalism has been a widely misunderstood phenomenon, and as a result, there have been many myths about it. It is therefore very important to know what communalism is not, and while trying to understand communalism, it is important to keep the myths regarding communalism in mind. First, as against popular notions, communalism is not merely religion's entry into politics or politics defined in religious terms. In other words, religion's entry into politics did not necessarily produce communalism. To take an example, two of the greatest secular leaders of the 20th century, Mahatma Gandhi and Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, were also deeply religious people and defined their politics in religious terms. 2. Communalism is not the result of religious differences. In other words, religious differences in themselves do not constitute the essence of communalism. For example, religious differences between the Hindus and Muslims had continued for centuries, but they assumed the communal form only in the modern period. In fact, communalism is not a religious problem at all. 3. Communalism was not inherent in the Indian society, as has often been assumed. It was not a hangover of India's past. It was a product of certain peculiar circumstances and combination of forces. Communalism is a modern phenomenon, as modern as the emergence of colonial rule. It is to be explained by political and economic developments in the modern period of Indian history. Check your progress 1 tasks. First, what do you understand by the term communalism? Write in 10 lines. Second, write 2 lines each on 1. Communal tension, 2. Communal politics, 3. Communalism as a value. In the final task, we will be given a set of statements and we have the task to distinguish the statements between right and wrong. The statements are: Statement 1. Communalism is not the result of religious difference only. Statement 2. Communalism was inherent in the Indian society. Statement 3. Communalism was a modern phenomenon. Statement 4. Communal arguments were false and were not rooted in the Indian reality.
Section 22.3 Emergence and Growth. Emergence EMERGENCE. How far back should one trace the roots of communalism? This has been a very controversial problem. Some scholars have attempted to stretch it back to the medieval period of Indian history. Medieval, MEDIEVAL, To them, the roots of communalism lay in the failure of Hindus and the Muslims to fuse their differences and constitute one society. Communalism, COMMUNALISM. Their assumption is that these differences always existed in India. There was a Hindu society and a Muslim society, and not an Indian society. However, this has been forcefully contradicted by others who insist that the role of divisive forces in Indian society should not be exaggerated. Contradicted, CONTRADICTED. Divisive, DIVISIVE. Exaggerated, EXAGGERATED. There existed in India powerful, cohesive, and unifying elements which often brought members of various castes, sects, and communities together. Cohesive, COHESIVE. Unifying, UNIFYING. Sects, SECTS. What then was the starting point of this problem? The genesis of communalism should be seen with the British conquest of India, which had a tremendous impact on the society and economy of India. Genesis, GENESIS. Conquest, CONQUEST. Tremendous, TREMENDOUS. Subsection 22.3.1. Socio-economic factors. Socio-economic, SOCIO-ECONOMIC. The British conquest brought about a change in the power structure which generally penetrated down to all the sections of the society. Penetrated, PENETRATED. To begin with, the British conquest marked the decadence of the upper class Muslims. Decadence, DECADANCE. It was particularly so in Bengal, where they lost their semi-monopoly in employment in the upper posts of army, administration, and judiciary. Semi-monopoly, SEMIMONOPOLY. Administration, ADMINISTRATION. Judiciary, JUDICIARY. They were also slowly evicted from their dominant positions in land holding as well. Dominant, DOMINANT. In particular, the permanent settlement of 1793 and the making of English as the official court language in 1833 deprived the upper class Muslims of their wealth, power, and influence. Permanent, PERMANENT. Deprived, DEPRIVED. Influence, INFLUENCE. Luence. As it happened, owing to the uniqueness of the Indian situation, the laws of the Muslims invariably went in favor of the Hindus who had responded more positively to education and other modernizing forces than the Muslims who remained largely backward. In other words, economic development within the British imperialist system benefited a group of Indians, of whom a far larger proportion were Hindus than Muslims. Imperialist, IMPERIALIST. Muslims adapted later than Hindus to such British novelties as education, the new professions, posts in administration and culture. Novelties, Novelties. Consequently, an intellectual awakening resulting in a reassessment of old beliefs, customs, and values was also laid among the Muslims compared to Hindus. This time, lag between Ram Mohan Roy and Syed Ahmad Khan, for instance, would help to explain a feeling of weakness and insecurity on the part of the Muslims, leading to a reliance on religion and traditional ways of thinking. This lag theory, that is, the theory of time lag between the Hindus and Muslims in responding to the forces of modernization and socio-economic development in the 19th century, has not been found to be wholly acceptable by recent historians. Modernization, Modernisation, historians, Historians. It should therefore be taken with same reservations. Reservations, Reservations. One major reason is its different application in different regions. If the Muslims as a group suffered in Bengal and as a result of the British rule, they benefited in some other parts like UP. Still, the lag theory holds importance for as it gives us a clue to the 20th century phenomenon of Muslims' alienation from the national mainstream. Phenomenon, Phenomenon. Alienation, Alienation. National, National. The relationship of the lag theory with communalism was summed up very accurately by Jawaharlal Nehru in a letter to his friend written in 1939. After the Indian Mutiny of 1857, there was a period of intense repression and both the Hindus and the Muslims suffered from it, but the Muslims probably suffered more. Repression, Repression. Gradually, people began to get over this suppression. Suppression. The Hindus took to English education, which led to state services much more than the Muslims. The Hindus also took their professions and to industry in large numbers. Professions, Professions. Among the Muslims, the reactionary elements prevented the spread of modern education as well as industry. Reactionary, Reactionary. The Hindus developed a new middle class during this period, while the Muslims still continued to remain largely feudal. Feudal, Feudal. The Hindu middle class laid the foundation of the nationalist movement, but about a generation later, the Muslims went the same way, took to English education and state service and professions and developed a new class also. Nationalist, Nationalist. A conflict arose between the various middle class elements for state services, and this was the beginning of the communal problem in modern phase. Communalism in India was therefore a struggle for jobs between various communities, unequal educationally, politically, and economically. Historian K.B. Krishna, author of Problems of Minorities, written in 1939, one of the earliest scholars to work on the communal problem, felt that these struggles were accentuated in an epoch of the development of Indian capitalism under feudal conditions by British imperialism by its policy of counterpoise. Accentuated, Accentuated, epoch, Epoch, capitalism, Capitalism, imperialism, Imperalism, counterpoise, Counterpoise. It was therefore a product of imperialist capitalist feudal structure of India. To quote K.B. Krishna, history of the communal representation is the history of British policy in India. Also, one of the growth and diversity of middle class consciousness in India and the demand of the middle class for political powers. Consciousness, Consciousness. But British imperialism is one aspect of the problem, the social economy of the country another. It is now time to look at the role of British imperialism and politics in promoting the growth of communalism. Subsection 22.3.2 Role of British policy. The British policy holds a very special responsibility for favoring the growth of communalism. British, British. If communalism could flourish in India and reach monstrous proportions, which it did in 1947, it was possible largely because of the support it received from the British government. Flourish, Flourish, monstrous, Monstrous, proportions, Portions. But before we discuss the British policy in detail, certain clarifications might be made. The British did not create communalism. We have seen that certain socio-economic and cultural differences already existed. They were not created by only taken advantage of by the British to serve their political end. W. C. Smith, author of Modern Islam in India in 1946, has made this point very forcefully. The political policy of the government would have been less successful than it was had there not been powerful economic factors operating to reinforce it. Communalism could not have proved so effective a divisive force, nor could we upper class Muslims have been so effectively repressed had the Hindu and the Muslim sections of the class concerned been of the same economic level, but they were not. Repressed. REPRESSED. It is therefore quite obvious that British policy of divide and rule that we are going to talk about could succeed only because something in the internal social, economic, cultural, and political conditions of society favored its success. It is important to note that conditions were remarkably favorable for the use and growth of communalism as well as for the policy of divide and rule. Communalism grew and prospered not only because it served the political needs of British rule, but also because it met the social needs of some sections of Indian society. Prospered, PROSPERED. Communalism was not a British creation. It was the result of combination of variety of factors. The history of British policy toward communalism can be easily traced to the period just after the rebellion of 1857. Rebellion, REBELLION. The post 1857 period made it imperative for the rulers to adopt a new set of policies in order to combat the possible threat to their empire. The British policy therefore underwent significant changes after 1857 and acquired a dual character. It now consisted of combination of liberal and imperialist policies. Liberal in so much as it recognized and considered the claims and aspirations of the new classes and sections as they rose. Liberal, LIBERAL. Considered, CONCEDED. And imperialist, because what was considered was always circumscribed by imperial interests, utilizing the rivalries of various classes and interests. Circumscribed, SCIRCUMSCRIBED. Rivalries, RIVALRIES. This policy was formulated with a double-edged purpose to make friends by catering favorably to the aspirations of some newly emerging sections and then to counterpoise one against the other, to offset one sectional interest against the other, one class against the other. This was, in a nutshell, the role of British policy, a policy of concession, counterpoise, and coercion. Concession, CONCESSION. Counterpoise, COUNTERPOISE. Coercion, COERCION. Once this policy became operative, its net result was spread of communalism. But even while pursuing this policy, the communal ideology became a useful ally in serving the political objectives of the government. Generally speaking, at this stage, there were two main objectives before the government: to make some friends in the society, to offer patronage to some sections, mainly in order to exercise influence and extend control and thereby strengthen its base in the society. Second, to prevent a unity of the Indian people. If all the sections of the society could unite under any ideological influence, they could threaten the British Empire. Ideological, ideological. Therefore, communal ideology had to be used and spread to deny the oneness of Indian people. This was done more effectively in the 20th century when the communal demands and organizations were encouraged to negate the legitimacy and credibility of the nationalist demands, ideology, and organization. Legitimacy, Legitimacy, credibility, Credidility. Thus, on the one hand, all attempts were made to keep the Muslims away from the Congress, and then the claims of the Congress were run down on the grounds that it did not represent the Muslims. Communalism served the government in yet another way. Communal deadlock and the worsening communal situation could also be used as justification for the continuation of the British rule. Worsening, Worsening. The argument they gave went something like this. The major political parties, that is, Congress, Muslim League, and the Hindu Mahasabha, could not come to an agreement among themselves. Mahasabha, Mahasabha. The Indian people were divided amongst themselves and were therefore incapable of governing themselves if the British rule ended. The impossibility of any Indian alternative to British rule was thus emphasized. EMPHASIZED. This was the British policy of the first encouraging communalism and then using it for their own political ends. We shall emphasize this point further when we deal with the developments in the 20th century. Subsection 22.3.3 19th Century Revivalism. Revivalism, REVIVALISM. The revivalistic tendencies in the 19th century acted as a contributory factor in the growth of communalism. Revivalistic, REVIVALISTIC. Tendencies, TENDENCIES. Contributory, CONTRIBUTORY. Revivalism was a very general phenomenon under imperialism the world over. It meant an attempt at restoration of self-respect which had been deeply injured by political subjection. Restoration, RESTORATION. Subjection, SUBJECTION. This self-respect was sought to be restored by glorifying India's past, which was projected as a compensation for India's existing humiliation. Sought, SOUGHT. Glorifying, GLORIFYING. Projected, PROJECTED. Humiliation, HUMILIATION. Although revivalism solved same problems, that is of inculcating a sense of pride in one's past, it created some other problems. Inculcating, INCULCATING. One such problem was the projection of different glorious origins of Hindus and Muslims. This added a historical to the already existing religious, cultural, and socio-economic differences. The reformers among the Hindus glorified India's ancient past and condemned the medieval period as an age of barbarians. Barbarians, Barbarians. Their Muslim counterparts looked to the history of the Arabs for pride and glory. So, at a time when Hindus and Muslims needed to be united in every sense, they were shown to be different people historically. This damage became clear in 20th century when Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Mohammed Ali Ali, Jinnah, Jinnah, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, while formulating his two-nation theory, that is, India was not one nation but two, Hindu and Muslim nations, declared that the Hindus and Muslims were two nations also because they had a different history and that often the hero for one was a villain for the other. Villain, Villian. Subsection 22.3.4 Political Trends in the 19th Century. Related to the question of revivalism was the emergence of certain political trends in the late 19th century among a section of the Muslims in India. Although these trends were far from being communal, they nevertheless provided the background and a certain justification to subsequent communal politics. Politics, Politics. In this connection, a reference may be made to Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. SYedAhmedKhan. The views and the political activities of Syed Ahmad Khan were always marked with a certain ambivalence. AMBIVALENSNCE. He started his activities without any communal bias. His main aim was to introduce reforms among the Muslims, impress upon them the necessity of modern education, and secure official patronage for them. Patronage, PATRONAGE. For this purpose, he founded the Aligarh College, which received financial support from many Hindus and had many Hindu students and teachers. Aligarh College, ALIGARH, Aligarh. He himself preached harmony between Hindus and Muslims. Preached, PREACHED. However, his politics changed after the formation of the Congress in 1885. He found his priority of securing administrative posts for Muslims and of professing loyalty to the British rule to be in absolute contradiction with the anti-imperialistic edge of the Congress. Professing, PROFESSING. Anti-imperialist, ANTI-IMPERIALIST. Although his main opposition with Congress was on the attitude towards the British government, he voiced his disapproval in terms of Congress being a Hindu body and therefore opposed to the Muslims. Thus, he laid down the foundation of certain basic themes of communalism. Themes, THEMES. One such theme was that, being a majority, Hindus would dominate the Muslims and override their interests. if the British rule ended and the power was transferred to Indians. It was on these grounds that Syed Ahmad Khan was opposed to the establishment of representative democratic institutions. Establishment ESTABLISHMENT Representative REPRESENTATIVE Democratic DEMOCRATIC Institutions INSTITUTIONS. According to him, the democracy would only mean the power to the majority, as it would be like a game of dice in which one man had 4 dice and the other only 1. He also felt that any system of elections would put power into the hands of Hindus. Hence, the 3 main themes of communalism, that is, opposition to the nationalist forces, opposition to the democratic process and institutions, and loyalty to the British government, could be traced back to the ideology of Syed Ahmad Khan and his followers. Needless to say, these arguments were wholly incorrect, although there were many Hindus in it. The Congress could not be called a Hindu organization by any stretch of imagination. There was nothing Hindu about its demands and program. Programme. Badruddin Tyabji, a Muslim, presided on its session in 1887, and the number of Muslim delegates to the Congress session increased in subsequent years so as to include many prominent Muslims in it. Badruddin Tyabji, Badruddin, Tyabji, Tyabji. Also, democracy or modern representatives institutions posed absolutely no threat to the Muslims. In fact, it posed a threat only to the Rajas, the feudal and Jagidari elements among the Muslims, of whom Syed Ahmad Khan was a representative. Jagidari, Jagirdari, Rajas, Rajas. Subsection 22.3.5 Role of communal organizations. Once communalism raised its head, then, in addition to being encouraged by the government, it grew on its own. It seemed to have the inbuilt system whereby it could increase its strength even independent of any external support. Communal organizations played a vital role in this process. The leading communal organizations, All India Muslim League, formed in 1906, and the All India Hindu Mahasabha, formed in 1915, were opposed to each other, but they always provided justification for each other and increasingly made each other more communal. Through their political activities and propaganda, they prevented the Hindus and Muslims from coming together, made them distrust each other, and thereby spread communalism among the people. Propaganda, Propaganda. Distrust, Distrust. Subsection 22.3.6 Weakness in the national movement. The growth of communalism in the 20th century could be checked by a nationalist upsurge. Upsurge, UPSURGE. Communal ideology could be defeated by the nationalist forces and ideology. But the Indian National Congress, as a representative of the nationalist forces, and ideology failed to prevent the spread of communalism among the people. Although fully committed to secularism and nationalism and desirous to bring about a unity of the Indian people, the Indian national movement fought a battle against the communal forces but lost ultimately due to a variety of reasons. Secularism, SECULARISM, nationalism, NATIONALISM. To begin with, the Congress could not comprehensively understand the nature of communalism. As a result of this, the Congress did not have a central strategy to combat communalism. Comprehensively, COMPREHENSIVELY, combat, COMBAT. Therefore, it kept shifting between temporary sets of strategies. Also, the Congress could not keep pace with the fast changing character of communalism. Besides certain Hindu revivalistic tendencies entered into the national movement and successfully prevented its attempts to reach out to Muslims and incorporate them into its fold. Also, the use of certain religious symbols like Ramarajya, for instance, acted as a barrier. Ramarajya, RAMARAJYA. At the level of implementation, the Congress sometimes made wrong choices while dealing with the communal forces. It tried to offer concessions and made compromises with them, which only increased the credibility of the communal groups. On certain other occasions, opportunities for a compromise were lost, thereby creating a deadlock. However, while pointing out the limitations, the complexity of the problems should not be ignored. It became very difficult to solve the communal problem, particularly because of the attitude of the government. The British government did all it could to prevent a settlement between various political groups. No matter what the Congress offered to the Muslims, the government always offered more, thereby making the arrangement redundant. It's redundant, REDUNDAND. In the next section, we shall see the Congress attempts at unification and settlement and the government attempts at division in details. Check your progress 2. Question 1. Write 10 lines on the role of British policy towards communalism. Question 2. Write 5 lines each of the following: the lag theory, revivalism. Third, read the following statements and mark right or wrong. Statement 1. The British created communalism. Second, the spread of revivalism contributed to the two-nation theory. Third, the Congress could not keep pace with the fast-changing character of communalism. 4. Communal organizations spread communalism among the people. Section 22.4. Communalism in the 20th century. In this section, we shall see some of the major developments in the 20th century in relation to the communal problem. We shall discuss them very briefly and see how they affected the communal problem. Some of the points made in the earlier section regarding the British policy and the Congress attitude will also be dealt with in this section. Subsection 22.4.1. Partition of Bengal and the formation of the Muslim League. The partition of Bengal in 1905 may have started as an administrative measure, but it was soon transformed into a major political advantage for the government, as it intended to convert Bengal into areas of Hindu majority and Muslim majority. It was thus the result of the British desire to weaken the nationalism of Bengal and consolidate a Muslim bloc against it, said Curzon, the Viceroy. Curzon, Curzon, Viceroy, Viceroy. Statement by the Viceroy. The partition would invest the Muslims of East Bengal with a unity which they had not enjoyed since the days of old Musalman viceroys and kings. Musalman, Mussalman. The partition scheme and the subsequent Swadeshi movement was followed by the formation of the All India Muslim League towards the end of 1906 with official patronage. Swadeshi, Swadeshi. It consisted of a group of big zamindars, ex-bureaucrats, and other upper-class Muslims like Aga Khan and the Nawab of Dhaka and Nawab Mohsin ul Mulk. Zamindars, Zamindars, ex-bureaucrats, ex-bureaucrats. Aga Khan, Agakhan, Nawab of Dhaka, Nawab of Dhaka, Dacca, Nawab Mohsin ul Mulk, Nawab Mosin-ul-Mulk. Its motive was to thwart the young Muslims from going over to the Congress and thereby into the nationalist fold. Thwart, Thwart. The Muslim League was formed as purely a loyalist body whose only job was to look up the government for the favor and patronage, and they were not disappointed. Another important feature of this period was the growth of Muslim separatism because of three reasons. 3 bullets. The surfacing of Hindu revivalistic tendencies during the Swadeshi movement, the British propaganda that the partition of Bengal would benefit the Muslims, and spurts of communal violence. A number of communal riots broke out into eastern Bengal in the period following the Swadeshi movement. Spurts, Spurts. Separate electorates. Electorates. The declaration of separate electorates in the legislative bodies in 1909 as a part of the Morley-Minto reforms is a major landmark in the history of communalism. Morley-Minto, Morley-Minto. Separate electorates meant grouping of constituencies, voters, and elected candidates on the basis of religion. In practical terms, it meant introducing Muslim constituencies, Muslim voters, and Muslim candidates. It also meant that non-Muslim voters could vote for a Muslim candidate. The election campaign and the politicization was thus strictly confined within the walls of each religion. All this was to have disastrous consequences. Politicization, Politicization. Disastrous DISASTROUS. The introduction of the separate electorate was based on the notion that the Indian society was a mere collection of interests and groups and that it was basically divided between the Hindus and Muslims. Indian Muslims were, on the other hand, regarded as a separate, distinct, and monolithic community. Monolithic, MONOLITHIC. It was also based on the motive of entrusting power in the hands of potential allies as well as preventing Hindu-Muslim unity. Potential, POTENTIAL, allies, ALLIES. Arguing against joint electorates, Minto pointed out to Morley the following. Under the joint scheme, the Hindu would not only be able to elect their own men, but a Mohammedan was as well, who might not represent bona fide Muslim interests. Mohammedan, MOHAMMEDAN, bona fide, BONAFIDE. According to these reforms, the Muslims were assured that they would be granted representations in the councils, not merely according to their numerical strength, but also according to their political importance. Thus, Minto assured a Muslim deputation, DUP UTATION. The pitch of address, as I understand it, is a claim that in any system of representation, the Mohammedan community should be represented as a community. You justly claim that your numerical strength, both in respect to the political importance of your community and the service it has rendered to the empire, entitle you to consideration. I am entirely in accord with you. I can only say to you that the Mohammedan community may rest assured that their political rights and interests as a community will be safeguarded in any administrative reorganization with which I am concerned. The impact of separate electorate was as follows. 1. It created the institutional structures containing separatism. 2. It was to produce severe constraints on the Congress and limit its space for nationalist activities. 3. It was to activate the communal groups and organizations. And 4. It ensured the impossibility of a common agreement among Indian political groups. However, the impact of the separate electorates was to surface in Indian politics only later. David Page, the author of Prelude to Partition, written in 1982, has summed it up very well as follows. The granting of separate electorates appears to have been an attempt by the Raj to shore up a crucial part of its system of control. It was an attempt to extend and broaden the base of its rule by extending and broadening the support of its traditional allies. Subsection 22.4.3 Lucknow Pact. Lucknow Pact of 1916 was an attempt made by the Indian organizations, namely the Congress and the Muslim League, to arrive at a settlement. The Congress considered separate electorates as a temporary arrangement in order to obtain Muslim League support. Two things need to be remembered regarding the Lucknow Pact. 1. It was an arrangement between the leaders, not between the people. The Congress League settlement was strongly equated with the Hindu-Muslim settlement, the assumption being that the Muslim truly represented the Muslims. Second, Soon the Lucknow Pact became redundant because of the Government of India Act of 1919, which granted much more to Muslims than the Lucknow Pact. Subsection 22.4.4 Khilafat KHILAFAT. The Khilafat agitation, about which you have already read in Unit 18, was a product of a particular political climate where Indian nationalism and pan-Islamism went hand in hand. Pan-Islamism, PAN-ISLAMISM. It witnessed Muslims' participation in the national movement at an unprecedented level. However, communalism started making inroads into Indian politics and society just after the withdrawal of the non-cooperation movement following the violence at Chauri Chaura. Inroads, INROADS. Non-cooperation, NONCOOPERATION. Chauri Chaura, CHAURI-CHAURA. There were many symptoms of increasing communalism in the period 1922 to 1927. 1. Communal violence erupted at an unprecedented level. In UP alone, there were as many as 91 riots between 1923 and 1927. Issues of cow slaughter and music before mosques come into prominence. Mosques, MOSQUES. Slaughter, SLAUGHTER. Prominence, PROMINENCE. 2. Khilafat bodies representing Hindu-Muslim unity gradually petered out. PETERED. The Muslim League got revived during 1922 to 1923 and began to openly preach separatistic politics. Preach, PREACH. Separatistic, SEPARATIC. 4. Its Hindu counterpart, the Hindu Mahasabha, formed in 1915 and lying inactive since then, found good climate in which to revive itself. 5. Movement like Tabligh and Tanzim arose among the Muslims. Tabligh meaning propaganda. TABLIGH. Tanzim meaning organization. Tanzim, TANZIM. They were partly a response to Shuddhi and Sangathan among the Hindus. Shuddhi, SHUDDHY. Sangathan, SANGATHAN. These were again in part a response to the forcible conversions made during the Mopla rebellion. All this vitiated the atmosphere considerably. Mopla, MOPLAH, rebellion, REBELLION, vitiated, VITIATED. 6. RSS was founded in 1925. RSS, Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. RASHTRIYA SWAYAM SEVAK SANGH. There were many reasons for this worsening communal situations. 1. The Khilafat alliance brought religious heads into politics, but they entered politics on their own terms. The withdrawal of the movement, however, did not lead to withdrawal of their participation from politics. This gave a certain religious interpretation to politics. 2. The nature of the political structure itself contained the seed the communalism through the introduction of separate electorates. The structure was enlarged by the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms, which created space for communal propaganda and political alignments along communal lines. Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. MONTAGU hyphen CHELMESFORD. Third, the spread of education without a corresponding growth in the employment opportunities left an army of unemployed educated people who could use religion for their jobs and favors. The political situation as it stood in 1927 was far from satisfactory. Nationalist forces were divided and at a low ebb. ebb. Communalism was gaining momentum. Momentum, momentum. Subsection 22.4.5 Parting of the Ways. The arrival of the Simon Commission and its near unanimous boycott by all the section of political opinion once again provided an opportunity for unity. Simon Commission, SIMON, unanimous, UNANIMOUS, boycott, BOYCOTT. A section of Muslim League under the leadership of Jinnah took the initiative and was willing to give up separate electorates in favor of joint electorates if certain conditions were met. These were 1. One-third of representation for Muslims in the central legislature. 2. Separation of Sindh from Bombay as a separate province. Sindh, SIND. Third, reform in the Northwest Frontier provinces. Frontier, FRONTIER. 4. Muslims' representation in the Legislative Council in proportion to their population in Punjab and Bengal. Legislative, LEGISLATIVE. These demands were accepted by Congress, which opened up prospects for unity. But its rejection in uncompromising terms by the Hindu Mahasabha at the All Parties Conference in 1928 complicated matters. The incompatibility between the League and Mahasabha frustrated all attempts at unity. The Nehru Report, framed by Motilal Nehru and Tej Bahadur Sapru, was rejected by the Muslim League as it did not incorporate all their demands. Motilal Nehru, MOTILAL NEHRU. Tej Bahadur Sapru, TEJBAHADUR SAPRU. The impact of the Nehru Report was significant. 1. It led to the estrangement of Jinnah, who called it a parting of the ways. The Congress went back to the separate electorates and formulated his famous 14 points, including separate electorates, reservation of seats in the center and provinces, reservation of jobs for Muslims, creation of new Muslim majority provinces, etc., which became the text of the communal demands. Estrangement, ESTRANGEMENT. 2. It increased the distance between various political groups and pushed Jinnah more toward communalism. Third, it also contributed to the aloofness and even hostility of most leaders among the Muslims toward the civil disobedience movement. aloofness, ALOOFNESS, hostility, HOSTILITY, civil disobedience movement, SCIVIL, DISOBET, Subsection 22.4.6 Towards a mass base, MASS, BASE. The events of 1928 to 1929 demonstrated a drifting apart of the communal forces. Soon this drifting apart was to reach a point of no return. This was the starting point of communalism transforming into an irresistible mass force. By 1940, all the communal demands were to pale into insignificance in front of the new demand, the demand for Pakistan as a separate homeland for Muslims. This demand was finally achieved in 1947. PALE, P-A-L-E. Let us look at these events in more detail. The Government of India Act 1935 provided for provincial autonomy and a wider franchisee than earlier. Franchisee, FRANCHISE. Elections were held in early 1937 under separate electorates. The results were quite revealing. In the general constituencies, Congress swept the polls, was in a position to form ministries in 6 provinces and was the largest single party in 2 others. Ministries, MINISTRIES. In the Muslim constituencies, however, the Congress performance was disappointing. Out of 482 Muslim constituencies, Congress contested 58 and won 26. Quite interestingly, even the Muslim League, claiming to be a representative of the Muslims, performed very badly, did not get a single seat in the northwest frontier provinces, got 2 seats out of 84 in Punjab and 3 out of 33 in Sindh. It was not in position to form a ministry anywhere. In the crucial provinces of Bengal and Punjab, the ministries were formed by regional parties. The election results confronted the Muslim League and the Congress with different messages. For the Congress, the message was loud and clear. It had a strong base among the Hindus, but was yet to establish itself as a representative of the Muslims. However, the only hope was that even its rival among the Muslims, the Muslim League, could not claim to represent them. The Congress therefore had a twofold project. 1. To work among the Muslims masses and bring them into the Congress fold. In 1937, it did not seem a difficult task because the Muslim masses seemed to be completely independent of the dominant political influence, communal or nationalist. 2. To ignore the Muslim League completely as it had the feet of clay. There seemed no point in trying to make a settlement with the League, as the election results had demonstrated its unrepresentative character. Nehru therefore declared quite triumphantly that there were only 2 forces in the country, nationalism and imperialism, being represented respectively by the Congress and the government. Triumphantly, TRIUMPHANTLY. Imperialism, IMPERIALISM. To achieve these twofold tasks, the Congress decided to launch a Muslim mass contact campaign. This was an attempt to ignore all the organizations and make a direct appeal to the Muslims to join the Congress. Jinnah was quite alarmed by this move and warned the Congress to stay away from the Muslims because, according to him, only the Muslim League could represent the Muslims. Alarmed, ALARMED. Lessons for the Muslim League. were also very clear. 1. Muslim League had hitherto been an elite organization dominated by the princes and zamindars and had absolutely no base among the masses. In order to succeed in the electoral politics and be in a better bargaining position vis-a-vis other dominant groups, it was important to have a mass base and be a popular organization, much like the Congress was. Hitherto, HITHERTO, elite, ELITE, zamindars, ZAMINDARS, vis-a-vis, BIS-A-BIS, bargaining, BARGAINING. Second, by 1937 all the 14 points of Jinnah had been granted by the government, and yet he found himself nowhere. He was just not able to carry himself and the League, of which he had become the permanent president, to a position of political responsibility. Therefore, it was important to maximize the League's membership and also to place the demand at a much higher pitch, since all the other demands had been conceded. Pitch, PITCH, conceded, CONCEDED. In order to achieve these twofold tasks, Jinnah did the following. 1. A massive campaign for the popularization of the League was launched. The Muslim League actually broke out of its elite shell and began to acquire a mass character. Membership fee was reduced, provincial committees were formed, and the party program was also transformed so as to acquire a socio-economic content. Committee, COMMITTEES. Program, PROGRAMME. Acquire, ACQUIRE. Second, an equally strong campaign was launched to denounce and condemn the Congress ministries. They were shown to represent Hindu Raj and hostile to Muslim minorities. This was the surest way of creating a Hindu-Muslim divide. The Congress was asked to concentrate only on Hindus as it was seen by Jinnah as a Hindu body. Denounce, DENOUNCE. Condemn, CONDEMN. Third, in 1940, at the Lahore session, Jinnah came up with the two-nation theory. It said that Muslims were not a minority, they were a nation. Hindus and Muslims consisted of two nations as they were different people economically, politically, socially, culturally, and historically. Therefore, the Muslims of India should have a sovereign state for themselves. Hence, the proposal of Pakistan as a separate homeland for Muslims. Sovereign, SOVEREIGN. As a result of all that has been discussed above, communalism began to emerge as a mass force. Although it had not become one by 1940, but the process of the transformation of communalism into a mass force had been set in motion. This was to lead to Pakistan in 1947. Check your progress 3. What do you understand by separate electorates? Write in about 100 words. Question 2. Write 5 lines on the following. Lucknow Pact, two-nation theory. Question number 3. Answer the following questions. A. When was Hindu Mahasabha formed? B. What were the Hindu counterparts to the movements Tabligh and Tanzim? C. Who used the expression parting of the ways? Question 4. What were the lessons that the election results brought to the Congress? Section 22.5. We have seen section title, Let us sum up. We have seen in this unit how communalism grew and thrived in India as a result of a variety of factors. Thrived, THRIVED. Specific socio-economic developments in the 19th century, role of the colonial state, its priorities and the administrative measures it took to fulfill them, weakness of limitations of the anti-communal forces, and the development and intensification of communal forces in the 20th century are some of the factors discussed above. Intensification, INTENSIFICATION. Although our story ends at 1940, the onward march of communalism did not. The remaining part of the story, from the declaration of Pakistan in 1940 to the making of Pakistan in 1947, will be taken up in another unit. But certain points should be mentioned here. The making of Pakistan was the ultimate communal demand and its logical culmination. It was the result of twin processes. Culmination, CULMINATION. The twin processes are 1. A gradual alienation of the Muslims as a group from the national mainstream of politics, and 2. Their consolidation on a communal platform for a communal movement leading to Pakistan, launched by the Muslim League under the leadership of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. These twin processes became possible because communalism in 1940s began to attract the masses and became a mass force of an ideology. This was a process which had begun in 1920s, got accelerated in 1930s, and gathered a further momentum in 1940s. We have seen the development of this process till 1940. You will read about this later. Section 22.6. Permanent settlement. A new land settlement introduced by the British government in 1793 in Bengal. According to this, the cultivators, most of whom were Muslims, lost their proprietary rights and became mere tenants. Proprietary, PROPRIETARY. Keyword 2. Nehru Report. The Indian response to the Simon Commission. It was a constitution prepared in 1928 named after one of its framers, Motilal Nehru, and was in many senses a forerunner to the Constitution of India, implemented in 1950. The Nehru Report was dropped by the Congress in 1930 on the grounds that it had not been accepted by all the political parties. Keyword 3. Government of India Act 1935. The third important constitutional measure undertaken by British government after the Morley Minto of 1909 and Montagu-Chelmsford of 1919 reforms. It provided for elections under separate electorates and a much wider franchisee than before. It also provided provincial autonomy, which meant that the party which won the elections could form a government in the provinces. Most of the powers were, however, reserved at the center. Section 22.7. Answers to Check Your Progress exercises. Check Your Progress 1. Answer to question 1. Refer subsection 22.2.1. Answer to question 2. Refer subsection 22.2.2. Answers to question number 3. A. Right. B. Wrong. C. Right. D. Right. Check your progress to answer 1. Refer subsection 22.3.2. Answer 2. Refer subsections 22.3.1 and subsection 22.3.3. Answer to question 3. A. Wrong. B. Right. C. Right. D. Right. Check your progress 3. Answer to question 1. refer subsection 22.4.2. Answer 2. Refer subsection 22.4.3 and subsection 22.4.6. Answer to question 3. A. 1915. B. Shuddhi and Sangathan. C. Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Answer to question 4. Refer to subsection 22.4.6. The unit 22 and 24 are now completed.